Hi everyone. This portion of the lesson is going to focus on this particular type of factoring trinomials. And when we first started talking about factoring, we talked about how factoring is turning things into multiplication problems. And one of the examples I gave you of a multiplication problem was a FOIL problem. So I could give you something like x plus 2 times x plus 3, and we could multiply that together using FOIL and make it x squared plus 5x plus 6. So our goal now is to take something that looks like this, which I want you to kind of pay attention to the structure of this thing. This is a trinomial, and it's a standard form quadratic. So it's x squared or something x squared plus something x plus something. Okay. Now, in this section, all of the problems I'm giving you don't have a number in front of x squared. You'll notice that down here, we're going to get into those later on. That's a different type of factoring, and we'll address that when we get there. But first, for today, we're just kind of focusing on things in this format and turning them back into what looks like a FOIL problem. So what we really want to pay attention to here is what is the relationship between these numbers you see here and these numbers in the original parentheses. And I'm hoping that what you're seeing is that these two numbers here always add to make this number in the middle and multiply to make this number on the end. So that's really going to be your job. These are almost like brain teasers. It's going to be, how can I multiply to make this number while still adding to make this number? And then we'll also want to pay attention to negatives and things like that too. So when I look at this first problem, what I'm trying to do is write this so that it's x and x. And I'm setting that up first because I know that's what's going to give me x squared here eventually. Now I need to somehow multiply to make negative 36 and add to make positive 5. So let's focus on the fact that this is negative to begin with. We can only multiply and get a negative if we are working with one positive number and one negative number. So as soon as I see this here, I know that my setup down here is going to be one of each. It's going to be one positive and one negative. Now I need to think of how I could multiply to 36 and add to make 5, keeping in mind that I've got a negative here to play with. So when I say that these things are adding up to 5, it's really going to be more like they're subtracting to 5 because of that negative. So here's what I'm going to do. And you may be screaming at me, at home right now because you know the answer already. And that's great. If you know the answer off the top of your head, that's fantastic. But I kind of want to show what to do if you didn't know, if it didn't just pop into your brain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a list of all of the ways that there are to multiply to make 36. Okay. And I'm going to start with 1. So 1 times 36. And then I'm going to go to 2. 2 times 18. 3 times 12, 4 times 9. Let's see, 5 does not multiply to make 36. My next one would be 6, and 6 multiplies by itself. And when that happens, when you get the same number on the list again, you know that you're done. So this is all of my possible ways that I could multiply to make 36. So my answer must be in here somewhere, okay? Now, again, remembering that I'm going to have one positive and one negative, let's think about how we could make a 5 with one of these combinations. Hope you're seeing this one. If I had a positive 9 and a negative 4, that would give me a negative 36, but it would add to make a positive 5. So I'm going to make this a plus 9 and a minus 4. And then I could just double check that in my head by foiling quick. So this would give me x squared. This would give me negative 4x plus 9x, which is 5x, and then 9 times negative 4 gives me negative 36. So this thing here would be my final answer. So now let's look at this next one. Now with the next one, I know I'm starting with x and x. This number here is positive, okay? So be careful that you don't jump the gun here. The fact that that's positive doesn't necessarily mean these are both positive. It could also be that they're both negative. Really what this tells you is that your two signs are going to match. Okay, it's either plus plus or minus minus, because that's how you can multiply to get a positive number. The number in the middle here is negative. So if I'm going to add and get a negative, that means that I'm going to be working with two negatives here. I'm going to have a minus and a minus. And so now I'm thinking about how do I multiply to 32 and add to make 18. So once again, off to the side, I'm going to make my list for 32. So 1 times 32, 2 times 16. I always go in order, and then that way it's real methodical. I can stay organized. That way I know that I'm covering all of my possibilities. 3 does not divide into 32. How about 4? 4 times 8. So then I would check 5. 5 doesn't go into 32. 6 does not go into 32. 7 does not go into 32. And then my next one is 8, which is already on the list. So here's all my possibilities. I need to be able to make an 18. So looking at this list, this looks like where I want to go. And then just if I make them both negative, that would still multiply to give me a positive 32, but it would add to give me that negative 18. Okay? So this would be x minus 2, x minus 16. I could double check that with FOIL, but that would be my final answer. Okay. It does not matter, by the way, the order of the parentheses. What does matter is like up here, for example, you have to make sure you have the plus with the correct number and the minus with the correct number. If you switch the plus and minus, that would be an issue. But the order of the actual parentheses does not matter because it's multiplication. So if somebody else had written x minus 16 and x minus 2, that would be totally okay. Okay, that's it for this little chunk of factoring. We have more fun to be had in coming days, but that should be enough to get you going for today. All right, have a good one.